users, Alex here, VRay Guide, and tonight we're going to check how we can set up an ocean storm. As you can see here, I've got a bunch of references for the skies and in the water. This is a hurricane, I think in Hawaii, and you can see how the wind blows and it tilts the boat to the side. So that was my reference for the animation. And I wanted to have those, big waves and gloomy sky like that. So I tried to do some light streaks like those and shine maybe light through, but yeah, it didn't work because when it's hurricane, it's something gloomy like that. So we try to get very similar mood into our ocean. Okay, so I'm going to open my rig, and as you know, I had a lot of success in doing really nice water splashes and water waves with 10 centimeters equals 1 unit. So if you open that scene, you will get that message. So just follow, adopt the file scale units, and that way you'll be able to be in this same scale. Evermotion introduced that trick, and since then I'm kind of following it. All right, so in my rig here, in the start scene, you can find HDRI dome light, and we're going to find also ambient occlusion light. As you probably know, we're not going to use any global illumination to render, so that we're going to turn it off, and we're going to use just that ambient occlusion light in order to give a little bit, nice shadows, soft shadows in our renders, and not really spend a lot of time rendering it. Phoenix already heavy enough on the scene. So in this HDRI, I have this map that I actually created. I built it myself. You can explore that if you click Alt B, and we're gonna put environment background. I use that map in the HDRI and in the environment, so you can see this cool looking. I have a seam, I need to fix that. So basically I stitched two maps. One of them also had some sun or something, but just to get a nice angle, this is I think this is where I was rendering it. Nice gloomy sky, and if we get some ocean waves, some ocean storm here, it will look pretty cool. Okay, so now that being said, let's start with our simulation of the liquid. So first let's do liquid sim, and I'm gonna click G in order to center this. Okay, so just because I'm using 10 centimeters unit scale here, I'm going to increase this by 10, and the cell size, and we're gonna use 400 with 400 by 100, so 16 million total cell size. I think that's good to get basic, and then if you're good with that, you can make it bigger and simulate that. But just to to adjust to get our rig, let's stay with a little bit smaller scene size. All right, now let's go down to dynamic, and in dynamic we need to activate this initial fill up with 30%. As you know, it's going to fill up our box about 30% up to here, and we need to leave enough space, like 70%, for the waves. Okay, because it's gonna be like stormy, pretty wacky waves. All right, so the rest we can leave here by default. We don't need any wetting, we don't need any active bodies. That we're gonna turn later on to have our boat floating on the waves. And I'm gonna show you how to connect it. In this one, we're just gonna make those stormy waves. Okay, so let's activate the foam and do some adjustments for the foam. So the foam and mount, we don't need any amount, so because we're gonna simulate our splashes from the splash and mist. So 0 amount, birth threshold 0.05. So here we don't really need to change anything, except in dynamics, the bubble to bubble interaction. Let's really lower it to 3, and the spread, let's do And let's just increase in the patterns. Let's put 3, and in the radius, let's point 0.05. Okay, a little bit smaller radius and more variety in the patterns. Okay, now let's do mist. Also, let's activate our mist and scroll down to the mist splashes amount. So it's 10, it's fine. Let's do splashes to mist 0. We don't need that. Mist birth, so we don't need any mist. That's good for waterfalls, but not in this ocean. We might actually do one with the wind when it kind of blows it off, those little but just for that sake of idea, let's get the waves right, and then we can add on this upon this. Okay, so let's do the foam amount 10 and depth 1, and in the properties let's leave everything by default here. Okay, so now let's scroll down to the output. Here we don't need to do anything. In the input also we don't need to touch here anything. In the preview, let's do radial reduction to 1 and auto reduction, turn it off. Now let's remove the speed from here, and let's remove the RGB auto range, and here liquid show speed, and in rendering we're going to use mesh, but then we're gonna switch it ocean mesh. We can actually use both of those in order to simulate endless oceans. So here let's do the cutter geometry. Just cut it off, and let's switch this to ocean math. So here, if we enable it, it says that it's better to use static geometry because it's gonna save us time. So let's enable this, but you can also say no, and I think in this option the wave's gonna really spread all the way around. It's gonna eat up a lot of your resources. Okay, so let's do this ocean, and here in the level let's reduce it to 30, and that's about it, I think. Let's do pure ocean and prevent self-intersection. We don't want them to intersect with each other. And in the displacement here we're going to put ocean texture to simulate our waves. All right, so now let's go and adjust our splash simulator here. So in the splashes we're going to use points, and let's give it a little bit kind of yellowish color here, not so white. And let's reduce the diffuser multiplier to 0.85, and the size multiplier, let's put it on 4, so we'll have big foam coming in, splashes. And motion blur forever, and this with the proof shadows. Now here let's put 99 into our volume cache so we can calculate more, and in the alpha point let's point 0.05, 0.7, 1, 0.01, and 100. All right, so this is good to go. Let's do the foam. By the way, you can follow my blueprint for this, and it will be much easier for you to set it up. All right, now same thing here. Let's give it a little bit color, and in the diffuse, all that, let's leave by default. Only here, let's change it to 99. And here, let's put the same 0.05, 0.7, and the rest by default. All right. Now, what we can do is we need to actually can simulate and see how the stuff is working now. But before we do that, let's add some forces. So I'm going to use a wave force, and with wave force, we're actually getting an ocean map. So here, let's click on our Phoenix simulator, scroll down, and if we click on the map here, we can go and load Phoenix ocean texture. All right, let's load it here. Now I'm going to drag and drop this. All right, so pretty, wacky waves. We're gonna give them a nice shape, but for now, let's just click on simulation of this thing and see how our waves being created and what we're actually getting. I think it's a good point to do the simulation. Alright, so we're having like 10 frames of the simulation, and it looks a little bit too calm to me, this water. I think the best if we add a little bit more to our wave force. Okay, so I'm going to stop this. And now let's get our wave force. Oh, we actually didn't connect our wave force to the ocean map. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that map right here with the instance. So it will be instanced in our simulator and in our wave force. Well, let's not wonder why this whole thing didn't work. Okay, now let's click simulate again and see how we get it. Alright, so I'm going to stop this one. We had a couple of frames of simulation, 15 frames to be precise. And as you can see, the waves are very, very wacky. They just come from all directions. And this is according to this map. So you can see how this whole thing starts to move. But again, it looks like it's going from all directions. Let's make a test render here. Okay, so we forgot to give texture to our ocean, and let's do it now. And let's actually disconnect, because I can see that the ocean spreads all the way there. And let's do only mesh, and right here let's do just mesh, so that box will be rendered. All right, now I have a kind of bluish greenish with a little bit of fog multiplier here. texture for water. So let's put it here on this guy and click render again. Alright, very chaotic waves. You can see they're kind of going all directions here. So in order to give them a little bit better structure and flow, we need to adjust the map. So let's do that. Let's take this Phoenix map that we just created and let's reduce the level of detail a little bit. Let's give a little higher wave height, and in our velocity coherence, let's put 1, and wave crest put 1. So we'll have nice sharp waves. So we already can see how the shape changes here. You know, it's a good, very good representation of if you want to get straight waves here. That's the best way to do it. Okay, you can also rotate it here if you want to give it any direction on the Y thing. If we give it 90 degrees, oops, not on the Z axis, we're looking from top. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave it like that, and I'm gonna add a little bit of a wind because I want wind to blow from the side to make it, to give a little direction to my waves. Okay, so let's do wind. We have it here, wind force. Oops, I'm gonna place it like that, and let's leave it by default. We can always play more with the settings in order to get something more unique, but as for now, just leave it at 1. Maybe just reduce it a little, 0.5. Okay, and let's simulate again and see what we get. Alright, I've let it run for 63 frames, and let's see what we got here. This stuff is just, I'm looking at it, it looks phenomenal, you know, this wave. Let's take a closer look at that. Somewhere here. Alright, show me the money. I want to see that beautiful wave with the nice mist and splashes. Beautiful stuff. Look at those little particles, those little splashes coming out. Amazing. Look at that gathering here of the foam. That's actually happening in the waves. You know, the wave doesn't need to really splash or hit anything. It just need to roll a little bit inside, and then it will create its own this line of kind of floating foam, which is very realistic in my opinion, you know. And those big waves, you know, I feel like I'm inside I'm inside this huge ocean, you know. It does really a good job. Okay, but in my opinion, maybe those waves, they a little bit too uniform, too perfect, let's say. Maybe we need to bring a little bit down the coherence, you know, in order to give them a little bit more chaotic presence. Let's take a look at, wow, this waves look amazing. Let's get another angle, something like this. I really want to see those splashes here because we kind of missed this whole thing. I'll take another little closer look before we change any parameters. Right, so this stuff is looking great. I love how it comes out. Maybe it's a little bit too structural. Let's do a short animatic just to see how this wave behaves. So we're gonna go to Tools, grab Animation Preview, Create, and here we can do Active Segment. Actually, we need to do only until 64, from 0 to 64. That's how much we did those frames. We're gonna do standard. In codec, let's just leave it as it is and click create. All right, so you can see that we need to actually simulate it a little bit more, because only after 60 frames the whole thing starts to kind of really work and throw in splashes. So I still see a little bit kind of structured waves. I want to get a little bit more cows in my waves, more of a stormy look, so I'm going to lower my crest a little bit, so you can see I will get a little bit more of a chaotic look to my waves. All right, so I'm gonna simulate it and render it again, and I'll see you in the next video tutorial where we're going to discuss active bodies with these cool waves that we just created.